welcome back to the Rave Social Podcast. I'm your host, Jaiden, and this is our final episode for 2024, which is so freaking crazy. I launched this podcast at the beginning of this year, and somehow I have made it through the entire year, putting out episodes at least 2 a month for the entire year. So that's crazy. With the podcast, I've been able to connect with so many of you. We've ranked in Canada. I think we were like in the top 10 or something in Canada for marketing podcasts, which is so fun. And I really enjoyed recording these and just giving you a chance to get some longer form content to really learn about me, our business, how to create better content for social media, and all of our guests as well. So it's been really incredible. And for this final podcast, I really just wanted to go over a recap of how the year has been for me when it comes to business, but also just how it's been and how it's felt and all the crazy things. So let's get into it. The first thing that I'm going to get into is the wins of this year. And to start with that, I really just want to say, like, this year I have been able to work with the coolest brands. They're service providers, they're product-based businesses, they're kind of all over, but I am working with the coolest people. We are, me and my assistant Paige, and I am just so grateful for that. I feel like I finally had a breakthrough there before this year. I loved my clients before this year as well, but I don't feel like they were as aligned, and I feel like we've really come into like who we want to work with, and it feels so good. Another win is that my business revenue is just under $200,000. So that's crazy. It's crazy to build a 6-figure big business, period. Like, congratulations if you are there or that's your goal. And to be almost at 200,000 this year, I think that our total revenue is projected to be about 183, maybe a little higher, just depending on how the rest of December goes. But so freaking crazy. I still feel like I have big goals there, and like, I know money isn't everything, but it is a cool thing to look at, just to be like, oh my gosh, like I was able to generate that much revenue in a business, like doing something that I love, doing something where I'm helping people. It just is so freaking crazy. And I'm so proud of me and Paige and the Rave Social. This is so crazy. Another big, huge win this year was I got engaged. But everybody knows that already. I've told you. Huge win, so fun. I know it doesn't really have to do with my business, but it just is so cool to me to have that happen and be able to like pay for the wedding and all of this stuff like with my business. It would not be possible without my business for sure, because before this, there was no flexibility in the amount of like money I could bring in. So I've just been feeling really happy about that. And also just like the connections that I've built through having this business have helped me book vendors and get like discounts on the venue, like silly stuff like that. But it really does add up. And it's because like I'm not afraid to put myself out there because of this business. And it's just been really cool to see that work out in real life. Another huge win this year was I did a human design business blueprint with Kaylee, I think is how you say her name, but she is truly incredible. And she did my business blueprint. Basically, she took my human design chart and then applied it to my business. So how do I make decisions? How do I work the best? All of those things. And that was such a major, major breakthrough for me this year, because I was feeling, I don't want to say like misaligned, but I was feeling like a shift in my business and how I want to show up. And the coaches that I was referencing for that were just different from me. You know, they have different lives, they have different life goals. And I just wasn't feeling like I aligned with that. Like, they were very hustle culture vibes, and I am down to work hard, but I wasn't feeling like I basically was just feeling like I don't know why I have a business if I'm working 24/7, if I'm not happy, like all those things. And doing my human design business blueprint really opened me up to understanding like how do I work the best and how can I show up for my audience the best? How can I sell the easiest? Because I was using all these like sales strategies and business practices that other coaches were using that work well for them, but they didn't work for me. And it makes so much more sense now because that's just not how I was born. Literally, that's what it comes down to. So I can link that for you guys. I think she does them all the time. And then actually, when I did that, I won her giveaway and was able to do a coaching call with her, which was just literally so transformative because I finally felt like, oh, I'm not lazy. I'm not a loser because I don't want to do XYZ. I don't want to do that because it doesn't work for me. It doesn't align with me. It was really nice. And then after that, I had 2 of my highest cash months that I've ever had in my business. And I was totally able to break through like what type of content do I like creating and how can I align that with what my audience wants to and needs to consume. So pretty crazy. Highly recommend that. And with that human design blueprint that I did, I found out kind of how I operate in my business. So one of the things that we went over is like, I'm a generator, by the way. So if you're a generator and you're listening to this could apply to you too. But like anywhere in my business where I was feeling frustrated. So like if I sat down at my laptop and was like frustrated with working with a specific client or a specific task, I literally immediately found a way to either change that or outsource it. So some of that looks like letting go of clients. Some of them were natural. Some of them I had to do more of like a firing situation. But really figuring out how to only work with people that like you're really excited to work with was so transformative for me. And getting rid of the ones that were like energy suckers was massive. Because here's the thing, when you're working on something that you're frustrated doing, not only is your work not going to be as good as it could be, also it's going to take you longer. So like it ends up just literally not making sense to work with some clients. Not that they're bad people or anything, like there is someone out there for them, but because like that task is going to take me 5 hours to complete. Whereas if they hired someone else to do it, someone else could probably do it in like an hour because they're not frustrated by it. And then everyone wins. That person who's actually doing the task is going to make more money. The other person's going to pay less money. The world is just going to be better if you don't continue working with the people that frustrate you or the tasks that frustrate you. So for example, editing this podcast, like I have edited literally hundreds, maybe thousands of podcasts, and I know how to do it, right? Like it should be easy for me. No, I get so frustrated. I don't want to do it. Like I was dreading it. And so I noticed that that was impacting like how often I was able to get podcast episodes out, which I just didn't vibe with that. So I hired a podcast editor to do that for me, which is just a massive transformation of my business. And then that opened up my calendar to be able to work with more dream clients. So it just was a win all the way around. Another place I did this was with my bookkeeping. I was like, oh, how hard can it be? Boys do it. I'm just kidding. How hard can it be? So hard. Okay. So hard, especially if you hate doing it. I tried to do it in January. No, I was so frustrated. Just, I couldn't do it. So I outsourced it. Amazing. Why was I going to spend 5 hours doing my books every month, dreading it, when I could outsource it to someone who can do it in 30 minutes because she's good at it? Doesn't make sense. Like, just freaking outsource it. Psychotic behavior on my part. Okay, now I want to get into maybe some of the things that like were either like mistakes or just like things that I feel like I learned from this year. Big one. I traveled so much this year and I loved it. And I'm like an original indie blue girly. Like traveling was the minute I graduated high school, I was like, where are we going? I want to travel. I want to see the world. So I've been a lot of places. And I always felt like that was the dream, to be able to go everywhere, whatever you want. And while I do still feel like that is the dream, I also realized how hard it was. I, especially this summer, really struggled. I was gone so much. And I realized that, like so if you're working a 9 to 5 and you have a boss or whatever, like there are cons to that because you have to ask for the time off. Maybe you won't get it off. You have like limited PTO, etc. But at the same time, when you go on vacation, you log off your email, you're done. You're free as a bird. You just go on vacation, you enjoy yourself. You don't have to think about work, not even for 1 second. And someone just covers your stuff and gets it done for you, right? But when you work for yourself, and this is something I'm like working on and really want to see how I can get better at it next year. But when you're a business owner, you don't have that luxury. For one, you have a team. So if you're gone, you still have a team that like is relying on you to do normal things. Nobody can just cover you. Like I can't just be like, oh, hey, Jesse, will you like take my clients this week? The work has to get done somehow. So that either means like working on vacation, doubling up before you go, doubling up when you get home, something like that. And I was traveling so much that I was literally doing like double the workload every other week so that I could take a couple days off, which was just, it was really overwhelming. And it definitely did come up as like a pain point in my business that I definitely want to improve on next year. And like the problem with it is like, if you dial back how many clients you have so that you can travel more, obviously like you need to balance that with your income. So does that mean raising your prices? Like it's just hard to figure out in a business. And like, I'm down to admit that because I don't think anyone really has the answer. Like, I don't think a business coach could just tell me what to do differently. Like, it's so unique of an issue to have. And then, so if you dial back your client workload, then like, obviously you have to balance that with your income. But then like when you're not traveling, you don't have as much to do every day, which is awesome. Love that. And you could just do nothing. But like also you could be making more money. I don't know. It's kind of complicated. If anyone has any ideas, you are of course welcome to DM me. But I do want to try to figure that out better this year just so that like, I guess going into next year, like I don't have that problem as much. And when I take time off, I can really disconnect and not have to kill myself either the week before or the week after. Another thing is that I feel like this was my biggest learning lesson of the year was that I tried to follow someone else's blueprint. Like I was trying to follow at any given time, like a different coach's way of doing things. And I really lost myself for, I wouldn't say the whole year or anything. I feel like it was maybe like 2 or 3 months max where I was just feeling like, oh my God, like who am I? What am I doing? And when I go back and I look at the content that I was posting at that time, it was really good content. It was performing really well. But at the same time, it didn't feel like me. I really feel like I go look at that content and I'm like, this sounds exactly like basically my coach, which it was just probably a natural thing to have happen because when you're getting coached by somebody, you kind of like pick up their like, I don't know, that's what they're teaching you how they do what they do, right? So I feel like that got a little bit like messy in my mind and I just really didn't like, I don't know. And then once I realized it, I was all in my head and like just struggled posting. I kept posting because I know that that's the best way to do it so that you don't just drop off the face of the earth and you keep that momentum going even while you're figuring it out. Like, hey, it's okay to be seen changing and evolving. But finally, I feel like the last bit of the year, I really have stepped into myself in my content, and it feels so much more embodied. Like, when I post, I'm like, yes, that sounds like me. That feels like me. Like, I am showing up as who I am, not as like a watered down version of somebody else who's already said what I've said. And when I made that shift, I had my 2 highest cash months that I've literally ever had. So that's freaking crazy. I think that just speaks for itself because I literally didn't change anything besides like how I was showing up embodied in my content. And the shift was immediate and the clients just came. Like, it was crazy. So that was just a big learning lesson for me to not just basically turn into whoever I'm learning from. I do think that I will like get a coach again in the future potentially, but I do feel like in this current phase of my business, I really just want to listen to myself and I don't know, use my intuition and my human design to grow my business. Like, I don't feel like I need someone to tell me what to do. I do feel like there's certain situations where I wish I could like give a coach a ring and be like, what would you do? But I don't know. It's just like a process of learning to, I guess, rely on myself for that. Okay, and then what I want to bring in going into the new year, I feel like, I don't know, I think this is my favorite part of this podcast. But going into 2025, I am really going to prioritize bringing on, I think, 1 or 2 more really, really awesome clients. I would love to work with more creator brands, which is definitely going to require me to pivot in some way. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. But I definitely think my content will shift a little bit more towards creator brands. You'll see a pivot in my content a little bit to be slightly more geared towards creator brands, but at the same time, like, I'm not giving up on service providers. They are like the heartbeat of what I do. So I still really want to work with service providers, but I've had such a fun time growing these creator brand accounts that I just feel like I want to bring some more on because I love it. I have so much fun doing it. Another thing is that I'm getting married. So into 2025, basically the last quarter of this year of 2024, I really like geared up and like went super hard in my business to hurry and generate a chunk of cash, which is so awesome. I'm so grateful I was able to do that. But because of that, I've been working so hard, but I did it on purpose because I wanted to generate. First, I wanted to see, like, can I do this? And I can, which is so cool. But I wanted to generate that cash for the wedding and then not worry about it all of 2025, if that makes sense. Like, I have all the vendors booked, everything. And this applies to my business because my business is where I get the money to do that. So in 2025, up until our wedding party, which will be in June, I really just want to have fun. Like, I want to try new things in my business, but not be so like focused on generating cash. I know that will be a natural byproduct of it, but I really want to chill because I have been going so hard this last quarter. I just want to enjoy being engaged, hang out with my fiance, like just take more time off to like just be, just exist and go for walks and stuff like that. So that will be a shift for me at the beginning of the year. And then the final thing is that I really am going to lean into more group offers, templates, things like that, where I can help more of you at a lower cost than it costs to work like one-on-one with me. I love my one-on-one clients so much. I feel like my business will always have that part of it because I really do enjoy the one-on-one, and it really is so cool to like be part of these businesses that are growing, and I love that. But at the same time, I would really love to be able to work with more people. And like I said, I only think we could bring on like 1 or 2 more clients next year. So a way I can do that is definitely through like group coaching or templates or things like that. So I'm really excited about that. And I did already just launch the evergreen content templates. So that's pretty cool. And if you want, you should grab those. I mean, really, they're freaking awesome. I had the idea like back in, I think, March or April, and I've been sitting on it all year. And I finally just said, you know what, I'm going to freaking launch it. And I'm really glad I waited because I learned a lot in that period and was able to test a lot of content like hooks and types that are included in that template now. So, I mean, it's pretty kick ass. Sorry, I didn't mean for that to be an ad, but I guess it is. So, yeah, you should get those templates. But yeah, that's what I want to be doing in 2025. And yeah, I just want to say I'm so grateful for you guys for tuning into the podcast every week. When I get the emails from Buzzsprout that are like, your podcast had 30 downloads, I'm like, oh my God, that's so many people. So thank you so much. I hope I can continue to provide a lot of value for you next year. And if there are topics you want me to cover, guests you want me to have on the podcast, please always feel free to send me a message. I love the feedback. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful new year, and I will see you in 2025. Bye.
First, I want to say thank you so much for being here and listening to my podcast. It means the world to me, and I just appreciate this community more than you could ever know. If you love this episode or a previous episode that you've listened to, go ahead and head to the leave a review link in the show notes and leave us a review. We would really appreciate it. And we're so glad that you're here. Thank you.